What's good, everybody? This episode of the podcast is sponsored by DistroKid. They are the go-to for digital music distribution and the easiest way for musicians to get their music onto Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, TikTok, YouTube, and more. They offer unlimited uploads, and artists keep 100% of their earnings, getting your music onto platforms and into stores 10 to 20 times faster than any other distributor. They help with cover song clearance, automatic splits, and they offer all kinds of tools and templates to help you get the most visibility for your releases. I dig this company and appreciate their business model that offers more features and tools than any other distributor while doing it at the most affordable price for solo artists, bands, DJs, studio artists, and any other creators that are making music or producing music in their home, and they offer label services as well. They've got 3 different tiers that they offer to creators that start as low as $22.99 a year. That's just $1.92 a month. And even their top tier is only $7.50 per month. And the best part about DistroKid sponsoring the podcast is they are offering Dan Cable Presents listeners 30% off their first year of service with DistroKid, making their affordable prices even cheaper for you. I will put that discount link in the episode notes. It will also be in my Instagram bio. Big shout out to DistroKid for sponsoring this podcast for more than 3 years now. Much appreciated. Now let's get into the episode.
Look down at the
What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Dan Cable Presents podcast. Thank you for tuning into the program once again. If this is your first time listening, thanks for checking out the show. You can find fresh episodes coming at you every Tuesday. And if you want to help support this thing in a free way, you can do so by clicking subscribe on iTunes, clicking write a review, giving the podcast 5 stars if you feel like it is deserving of so. And that will help propel this thing into the tops of those iTunes charts, giving it more visibility on the national and international levels. Helping strangers find the podcast and just a great way to contribute to the growth and sustainability of this thing. Appreciate the hell out of all the folks that have already taken the time to do so. If you're not listening on Apple, just hit like, follow, subscribe wherever you are listening from. Give it 5 stars on Spotify. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and just hit subscribe there. Anything is helpful. Tell a friend about the podcast. Links for everything will be in the episode notes. Hope everyone is doing well out there. I am recording this intro from my Airbnb in Chicago, Illinois. Beautiful day here. Went to the Cubs game last night. They won. Are they in a pennant race? No, but it was still great to be there. And this is just one of my favorite cities. I love Chicago. I've got family roots here, so it's always a treat to come back and visit. I just wrapped a tour managing gig with Veronica Swift. Fun run of shows with that crew. And I've got a couple days off before I'm back at it with one of my favorite bands right now, Say She She. I'm flying back to New York City tomorrow to link with them for 4 shows, and then back home to Portland for a few days before I hit again with Noah Gunderson for the month of October. So I am I'm a traveling boy right now, and it's been super great. I'm really grateful for all these opportunities, and I am grateful to have my friend Hannah Glavor back on the podcast this week. One of my favorite Portland singer-songwriters and someone that's become a good bud over the last couple years. She's got a brand new record dropping next week, September 26th, called Hold On, Hold Tight, just a killer collection of tunes. So I'm stoked for her to have that music out in the world, and it was great to jump on the mics with her again and just talk about this new record and where she's at in life. Just an incredibly sweet person. So I hope you enjoy this conversation. I gotta go get some laundry done at the local laundromat here in Chicago. So all the links for Hannah will be in the episode notes. And if you're local to the Portland area, you can catch Hannah's release show. Her album release show for Hold On, Hold Tight is September 26th over at Polaris Hall. That is where I am planning to be that night. And to kick off the episode, we are going to play the first track from Hannah's new album, Hold On, Hold Tight. The song is called "The End Is Near." It's my favorite song on the record, and this is a world premiere, if you will. This one is not quite out into the world until next week, so I hope you enjoy this early listen of this track. And this is episode 428 with Anna Glavor. Let's do the damn thing.
Yeah, I mean, you can also put it on the table. It's not like a... I'm trying to get a Spindrift sponsorship here, Hannah.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. You're fine. Wherever it's comfortable. You can be on the floor, too, next to you, if that's...
I have to be as still as I can.
This is like, yeah, this is a good setup. I like it.
I feel good
It's
about it.
This is what I expected out of a Hannah Glavor podcast. This is like, This is your thing.
It's a little extra, but honestly low effort somehow still.
Yeah.
Bring a bunch of thrift store garbage, make it look above and beyond.
This is what you do, though.
This is what I do.
This is how you express yourself artistically.
Oh my gosh.
Do you feel like you enjoy this part of it as much as like making the music as like the aesthetics and like doing all the crafts that like it always feels like you're very hands-on with your projects, like music videos or like even just like doing promo photos and things.
Oh yeah. Honestly, I didn't expect to do music in general, but like I've always been like making weird installations and artwork like that. I never expected to coincide with the music that I was making. That's the part that I'm happy that we finally like aligned it all. It feels makes me feel the most myself.
What do you think like helped you align it?
Oh God. I think maybe it's like when I owned music as my own, and rather than I used to write a lot. This is a funny way to say it, but responsibly. I felt like I had to write music that wouldn't offend anyone. I had to consider everybody, and it was fine. It was just pretty generic in a lot of different ways. And once I was able, and I kind of hid my actual thoughts and opinions and the things that I really wanted to do, the risks that I wanted to take, or maybe just that I wouldn't imagine that I would take because I was like, well, it's not for me to do. It's for somebody else to do. Somebody else that I respect more, that really knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
And something changed in me where I was like, well, I just want to do what I like. And it started going really well because I was already doing that stuff on the side, not for myself or my art. I was always making stuff and making my friends make stuff with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like kind of like this realization of like, I'm just going to make what I want. It's going to be fun. I'm like fixated on it. I'm just going to see it through to the end, whatever project it is. And it's been going really well. I think I'm surprised that maybe I just didn't believe in myself enough that people like me as much as they do in general when I was hiding all of this for so long.
People latch on to that authenticity.
Yeah.
And you just like have no idea, I think, sometimes that it's like that's what people want out of you because that's like your uniqueness.
Yeah. And I think also I was afraid of like taking any kind of risk because it's like you don't want to be like the person that is forever the flower girl or forever the mannequin person, whatever theme, whatever the tuna boy, it's like you're more than the tuna.
Maybe we'll see.
Hopefully not, honestly. Let's monetize that.
But I think it's fun to like, this is like a new piece. Like I had something else here and I've like been shifting some things, but I was like, I feel like one of these fancy tuna cans is such a fun part of like
extra
what
large.
My personality is now.
I love that. We should be holding it. Have someone hold it the whole interview. Do you want me to be holding it the whole interview?
No, you've got your hands full making sure all these flowers stay in place and making sure that
Karen hear.
Has her,
She needs to be able to hear the interview.
Yeah, Karen needs to be pretty tapped in. If you're not watching this on YouTube, Karen, the mannequin, definitely has her headphones on.
She's very focused.
She's tapped in.
And I'm just happy for her. I'm happy that she could be here for this.
Yeah, I'm happy that you can be here for this. Like it's nice to have you back on the podcast this time because I feel like the first time you came on, which was like a couple years ago, we did that recording on the waterfront. It was like during one of the like crazy heat waves.
It was also during the pandemic.
It was still towards the end of the pandemic. So we're like, let's meet outside. Yeah. And I mean, I didn't have a studio either to do it in, but I feel like you and I were just getting to know each other at that point. Mm-hmm. And I feel like within that time, now we have become friends. Yeah. And like someone I see like pretty often. And I've gotten to see you play so much music over these last couple of years and not just solo, but with your band. Like that seems like it's
grown and shifted.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It just seems like that's been like such a big focus for you to play more of those full band shows these last couple years and like really dial in what that looks like, which has been exciting. Cause I remember seeing you play music for the first time, which was at that library spot in the basement of Growlers that I was booking, and I saw you play solo there for the first time. I was like really impressed by your songwriting and like your previous record that you put out, which is behind me.
Yeah, but it wasn't even all the way out. Like I was doing, oh my gosh, that day was the day my Kickstarter failed.
Yes.
That day.
Yes. That was the day.
That show was supposed to be the celebration of we made it and we didn't. We did not make it. And so I was so sad that show. And I played all the songs that were going to be on that record in whatever form I thought they were originally going to be on the record. And in a week's time, right, like the day that it failed, I took the week, it was like on a Friday or something like that. And I took the weekend and I went dark. I was like, I failed everybody, and I did so publicly. And by Sunday, the folks that I worked with in New York, they reached out to me. They're like, we know you didn't make it, but if you could fundraise the amount, like if you could do it again and raise the amount that you raised that wasn't the big amount, we'll do it for that amount.
Yeah.
And I did it. I did it in a week. And it was a crazy whirlwind. And I was in New York recording a couple weeks later. Like the turnaround time was obscene, but we did it. And yeah, you met me at a very weird time.
Yeah, I know like a lot has shifted for you, and I love that record, but I remember when you started showing me some of the new songs and like some of these new songs that you were playing live, and I was just like, I don't know, it's special when you can when you admire someone's songwriting and like maybe get to like develop a relationship with that person on a personal level, but to like see the growth in the songwriting, and like it's very impressive. Like I just think you're an amazing songwriter, and I think that it definitely feels like you've got these people around you maybe that you like really trust to go into the studio with you this time to like make a record as a band, maybe more than just like hiring out these like musicians,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just been cool to watch, and I've been waiting for you to be able to like put these songs out in the world because I know how good they are, and like I think you can just like feel this difference of maybe like you being able to develop like what that like show people what Hannah's world is like through these songs, if that makes sense at all.
I'm very fortunate to be working with friends honestly in every iteration of my band. I always pick friendship first, and then it just changes and develops over time. Like the shape of the band and the landscape of sound. And so it's like it becomes ours to then present to the world. And I was very fortunate with the last record to have people that not only were professional and top tier, but they cared a lot. They cared about me and my story, and they put their best foot forward for someone that they were only meeting for the first time. But it feels completely different when it's people that you've known for years or that you've grown with musically over time, and that it's not a hired hand. It's like it's their songs too. Yeah. So it's like they get to listen back to it and have ownership over it and develop parts and grow parts and be able to share it and going like, this isn't just a band that I'm in. This is my band. These are my songs. These are my parts. And that matters so much to me as a creative, because I could art direct all I want. Like I can micromanage and I can produce the whole thing and it be fine. But what I love most about doing music is doing so in community, and the stuff that people come up in a collaborative setting is stuff that no individual could come up with on their own, because we're bringing such uniqueness to the table. And I just love being surprised by stuff. And I think that at a band practice, anyone could be like playing stuff and it's like someone's like, what? Like I love like those like moments of shock and delight of like unexpected tones or unexpected turns within a song. That being done in a live setting, also amazing. But yeah, I could always do music solo and that's fine, but I love doing any kind of creative work collaboratively. I really do love it.
Yeah. I mean, you get new ideas that way too. You're not just like locked into like whatever your vision is.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully you can like maintain that vision, but also like appreciate and like implement other people's ideas that maybe like make your vision even bigger or better.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. On this last, the one that's coming out in weeks. Oh my gosh. I have so much to do.
Hold on, hold tight.
Hold on to your butts is really what it's about. There's stuff that is like, I went in with one vision and we even like tracked most of stuff. And then in the studio, which you shouldn't do, you got to pre-production that. And we did, but like in real time, like something would shift and it would just it changed the entire song for the better.
Yeah.
And you can't make those moments up. Sometimes you can like curate moments where it's like, let's just experiment. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
But you kind of can't make the moments of, I don't know. It's just really, really special. They did make stuff for the better working as a team.
Yeah. I mean, you get everybody stoked, I think, when they feel like they have some equity in the thing and they're not just showing up as like these hired guns kind of situation, you know?
Yeah.
Like I know it was special that you got to bring the band out to this past tree for it. And like, that was like a pretty maybe like symbolic performance for you. Like
it was. I mean, back in like 2010, 2011, I had a different band with honestly one of the same members. One of them has returned and is in my current band. But we called ourselves the Family Band, Hannah Glavor and the Family Band. And one of them was from Nampa, Idaho. And so grew up as Tree Fort was like, was there literally for the first round of Tree Forts ever. And we as a band dreamt of playing there. And right as we were finally at the level to apply, people moved away. Like the band split unexpectedly. But I feel like it haunted me the whole time. So for me, I was like going, I know it's not the biggest festival on the planet. It's the most important one for me to play. Like, and especially for Matt, he's playing keys in my band now, but he played a bunch of different instruments before. It was very important to have him there. And he brought his wife, who they ended up getting married. I don't know what that's called when two bandmates get married. Is that incestuous? I think it's fine. I think you're allowed to do that if you're not blood related, but you're band related. I don't know.
You're in a family band together.
We're in a family band, and a brother and a sister got married. And in this state, that's legal.
A brother and a sister are like
bandmate. Is that legal in this state? I think so. Pretty sure that's legal. Anyway, she got to come. She was in Idaho as well.
That's amazing.
So we were able to have like members of the family band all back together.
Yeah, I feel like at that show.
Oh yeah, because you were there.
Yeah, that was like it was special to like get to be there, and there was like a bunch of Portland people playing on that stage so that day.
Yeah,
but I also know that was like a milestone for you as far as like how far you've come, or like how far maybe you feel removed from like this brain surgery that you had to have not that long ago.
Yep. Like I don't think I could have imagined one that I'd be outside of that line of work that I was in for so long, and then as deep as I am now in the music industry, and then also working in production roles at venues. Like, I don't think I could have imagined any of that 7 years ago when everything was going down, to be at a place now to be seeing out the stuff that I gave up and didn't know mattered, to then like wake up post surgery and go, it's like, man, I really regret not giving this another chance, and to be years into it at this point, giving it that chance. I'm honoring that dream, and that it really matters. You only get one life.
Yeah. Is that, you feel like ultimately that was like the thing that flipped the switch for you, is like feeling maybe this like second chance at things, or just like being faced with like your mortality, like during that time, and like just being so just kind of thrown into the unknown during that time?
Yeah, I mean, after the surgery, it's like it's taken years to recover and to be able to like, even like I have like photophobia after the surgery. So it's like even like lights are still a thing that like affect me. My sleep is still messed up. But like directly after the surgery, in the months that followed, I couldn't even listen to music. Yeah. And so it was like something that mattered so much to me, even though I wasn't on a regular touring basis. I didn't know how devastating that would be, to not be able to, I couldn't watch TV, couldn't listen to music. It was just too much stimulus. And I remember, like, I think I might have mentioned this in the last time that we talked. I was like, the surgery happened in mid-March, and I was supposed to perform with a really good friend, bandmate, old housemate, Liz Weiss at the Doug for some big show that was happening there with Maria Massa. Very fun. Just good Portland homies. And it was like sometime in May. And I remember being devastated that I couldn't play it. But I was like, if I don't listen to music for the next couple months, maybe, just maybe, I can sing one song. And maybe, just maybe, I could do music again. Maybe, just maybe, I can listen to music again and go to concerts again. Yeah. And I just made it like this thing to live for. And before the surgery, I mean, I was not in a good mental health space. I was very, very depressed. I was working at a very unhealthy job that took a lot out of me. I got to do some really cool stuff because I was doing music direction and art direction. Yeah. But I was not doing well, to the point where I didn't know what to live for, and I didn't know how much life I wanted to live. And it wasn't until I almost truly actually lost my life, unrelated, I didn't know how much I still wanted to live, and it changed the things that I wanted to live for. And figuring out for the first time how to fight and advocate for those things. And I didn't know how to justify it before, because I was like, it's just sounds. I don't know. Like, I was like, I didn't know how to justify art. I had to do something wild and noble and self-sacrificial, and I didn't want the attention. And I didn't know how much life it brought me, and how much it made me, and how much that mattered, that I got to be myself. Yeah. So yeah, it was huge. The surgery was like a huge pivotal thing of like, my life matters. I matter. The things that I love and the things that make me matter. And figuring out how to fight for those things, I think, for the first time. I took it for granted when I was younger. I think we all do, but
yeah. I mean, especially like when you maybe feel like you're losing this big piece of like not even being able to like listen to music, let alone like think about like being in a music venue to either watch or play or like
or work,
be under the lights. But yeah, but like you said, like this has just become your life. Like you're working in music venues, or like stage managing or production managing at like various venues and like festivals, and like playing a lot of music this last couple of years. Like that's like so cool.
It's crazy. And it's not all easy. I'll still get really fatigued by lights. I can't do strobes. Strobes are bad. There's things that I can't do, and I have like a point where it's like I reach a crux where both sound and light and people, I'm like, the world is imploding. It is ending, and it's my fault. I did this. I have to live with a lot of earplugs. I have special glasses. I don't like wearing them though. I get too many comments. I can't. People make fun of me for wearing sunglasses inside, and I'm too sensitive.
You just need to make it part of it's like part
vibe
of your persona.
I tried, and I was like, people like were making Bono comments, and I just couldn't handle.
Let them do it.
I got to bring it back. I think the older I get, the more my eyes are like, you got to take care of this. So I think I will have to slowly become Bono and receive that.
So do you feel like this Hold Tight record is still you reflecting a lot about how your life has changed, or like where do you feel like this this collection of tunes is like emotionally charged from, or like where do you see the through lines in these songs?
I mean, I think a lot of like maybe the momentum and energy behind it is going to be similar to the previous record, of like fighting for life, right? Fighting for hope when in the midst of darkness. That's a through line. I would say these are the most lyrically honest songs I've ever written and released. I would say released because I've been writing for a while, but there's so much that I just hide. We hide. But this is like, I'm like unabashedly going like, nope, like this is what I think. This is what I am feeling. These are things that are really going on. And I don't know why it's taken me this long, because it's like I can be really loud visually with different things, but something about like it coming out of my mouth and it being my words and my music it's taken a long time for me to feel comfortable being vulnerable at that level. I don't love it. Some people are like, I need to be heard. I need to be seen. I feel so comfortable.
Yeah.
Power. Go power. And I'm like, I don't know. Someone else can do whatever they want. But yeah, I would say the through lines for this would be some of the past experience. I also think some of these songs existed right before the pandemic and then right during the pandemic and right after. For me, there's actually parallels from being trapped inside during the pandemic, during quarantines, and my surgery. It was almost like a PTSD for me, where I just felt like trapped in my own body, in my own head. I had all these things that I wanted to do, and I had to completely stop. And I know everybody went through a lot with the pandemic, and everybody has their own really important, valid stories. But for me, it was because it was only a couple of years afterwards. It reminded me of when I was truly trapped in my own body and in my own home and on my own bed, whatever. So I wrote out of like this desperation to fight for another chance. What would I actually say if this was the last thing that I ever did? What am I actually feeling honestly right now? And I don't know that I'm saying anything terribly profound, but it is like, it's what I mean in real time. And so when I'm performing these songs, they still carry a lot of weight. A lot of these songs do, because it's how I'm feeling right now. And it is really, really what I'm feeling, not what I could say that someone could feel. And maybe I want hope for you. It's like, no, like, this still hits. It still hurts. I'm still mending these wounds. I'm still growing. I'm still hoping for something better.
Yeah. So does it feel like more vulnerable to you even like performing these songs?
Yeah, I'd say like some of these songs like come from me processing. A lot of my work prior to music was like in religious settings.
Yeah.
And some of these songs are coming out of that space going like, this wasn't healthy. And you're not allowed to say that when you're in those spaces.
Yeah.
And so it's really big and bold of me to like be saying that out loud in a musical form for any ears to hear. But I'm writing from a space going like, I promise there's something better than the pain and ways that you feel trapped. And there is space for everyone. And that's very vulnerable for me to say, because I was told explicitly to never say things like that.
Yeah.
And there are rules, and there's ins and there's outs, and there's hierarchies, and I'm not living within those spaces. I'm not even doing it in like a big flamboyant like middle finger to anybody. It's just like, I'm just saying honestly what I'm experiencing, what I have experienced, what I'm feeling. And unfortunately that's too much in some spaces.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very vulnerable for me.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's just kind of a fucked up thing that you have to like censor yourself almost like in some of those spaces, you know, like it feels like a lot of times like organized religion can just get very far away from like what the core values of the thing is supposed to be like promoting, but also like when that's like your foundation for your life, for a lot of your life, right? Mm-hmm. Like that is such a significant shift for people. Yeah. And I think it's like maybe hard to understand that if you didn't grow up with it. Like I've had the chance to like talk with a lot of friends who maybe grew up in religious backgrounds and who've maybe like stepped away from it a bit, or like have found their own path of spirituality like outside of the constructs of like organized religion. And yeah, it's just so crazy when you're like, you have this foundational shift for life. And
I would say it's identity shaking. Yeah. Because so much of yourself is required. You're required, and you willingly let go of more and more of yourself. We say like less of me. Like it's all about humility, and especially being a female, cis female in those spaces. There's supposed to be even less, like you're the lowest of the low. And when you step out of it, all of a sudden, everything that you base your framework and identity and life around shifts. And so I feel like the last couple years, and that's not even me forsaking all of it. I just didn't want to be a part of like a damaging institutional harm. I could still maintain a level of faith without having part in the harm myself. And I didn't want to support that. But I'd say the last couple of years we're trying to figure out for the first time in a long time what bits of me are actually me still. What voice do I have? What are my thoughts versus what have I been raised to think?
Yeah.
What do I like versus what am I told I'm not supposed to like? So I would say like a lot of these sounds and sights, it's just fun. I'm trying to have fun for the first time in a long time without permission. And I'm not even doing anything crazy. Like I know there's a mannequin and tons of flowers, but like it's not that wild. It's just like obscure. It's obscure, but it's silly and it's lighthearted.
Yeah.
And I want to live a life where my heart is lighter and fuller.
Yeah, I think you can like feel that in this music, like this new record. Just like I just feel like you took different chances with this record. You know, like the choices made on like a track like Ghost of It.
Yeah.
Where things get fucked up at the end.
They get crazy.
But it's still like this beautiful pop song, but it like shows the elements of like chaos as well. And like that's what makes that song so cool.
Yeah.
You know, is like the little moments like that where you think it's just like maybe this, you know, cutesy pop song that like all of a sudden it like erupts into like loud guitars and like things spinning out of control. And like, I don't know, it just feels like it maybe like hits on a different like realm of like full range of emotions in that way.
Yeah. I think a lot of the music that I was making before was coming out of a tradition that it's like you're honed into stewarding a space, stewarding emotions. And I kind of wanted to like turn that on its head a little bit with this new stuff. And I'm kind of like playing with it, going like, what if I invited you into a space and we just had fun with it? And like, let's see emotionally where that could go, whether it be something mellow or something really big. And that's something I've never done creatively for my own music. And I think it's really important. It's like you can walk, for me, I'm very, very affected by music. So I could walk into like a symphony space and there's no words. There's no like necessarily intended meaning behind a song. Maybe it has a title, maybe it has an original inspiration, but I could walk into that space and be emotionally affected by it. And no one told me to be that way. My body just knows to respond. And my heart knows to respond, and it just like awakens something in me. And it's like, what if I don't know, what would it look like to create spaces where you invite people into an awakening, invite people into a realization. Maybe it's through lyrics, maybe it's through the melodies, maybe it's through unexpected moments. And it's just, I don't know, it's fun. Like I want to be playing like that. And I almost think like playing, like building a sandcastle or playing with a friend with Legos, like as a kid, like truly play. I want to be like, going like, what would you make with these Legos? How would you build this sandcastle? How are you being affected by these sounds? What if I like invited you into a story and then like, are you going to dance to it? Are you going to cry to it? Are you going to this? Like, I just want to like invite people to being present because I really do think that's very important. That is something that I learned through the pandemic and then also definitely through almost losing my life through medical stuff is like, what does it look like to fight for being present? Because I think there's so much drive in the music industry and just pressure in life in general to always be moving towards the next thing, having security, knowing. And I think we miss little moments. So it's like I'm trying to surround myself with like things that remind me to slow down and just like take a second look. Just like it's, you know, musical hooks, but like visual hooks too. It's like, what's going to like make you stop and think different?
I think it just kind of like goes back to like the world building. Like how can you get people lost in this world so that they are like present in some way in it, you know? And when you can like make something that's transcendent or like whether that's like visually or sonically, it's a very cool thing. I
want that. And I also like a lot of my songs I feel like are me telling myself that I have permission to slow down, or to have hope when there is none, or to like promise there's a reason for living when you don't feel like there is one. And I really wish that for everybody. Like, it's wielding a craft and telling myself something that I need to hear that I don't always believe. And also like really, truly wanting that for everybody else. That there is a chance outside of the stuff that you don't think you can survive. And I think it's because we're not supposed to go through everything alone. I think we are supposed to be together. Yeah. So this is like an invitation to togetherness, if nothing else.
What do you think like has allowed you to make these shifts in your life and be bold, or like maybe speak in a, I don't know, just like a more truthful way, or just being revealing of yourself, of those things that maybe you hid from at this point in your life?
I think time, it took a lot of time. Took a lot of loss. I had to lose a lot of myself, like losses, like whether you could be like housing, money, family, pandemic, like you could like, it just took a lot of me losing the things that I was holding on to, that I was like, this is me. These are the things that make me me. And one by one, a lot of those things kind of dissolved, or what I knew of myself and what I knew of reality kind of was like slowly being taken away in a lot of different ways, not to the fullness, because I'm still obviously here, but I had to reckon with it. I was like, all these things that I were convinced were myself have been removed. What's remaining? What makes me me? Because I'm here. Yeah. Do I like what I see? I have to learn to live with it. So how do we learn to not just like see, like now I'm forced to look at what I'm left with. Do I like it? Do I love it? Do I not love it? Yeah. Can I learn to love it? Can I grow it? Can it be built upon? It took a lot of loss and a lot of time and a lot of hard work healing with good people. Like it was not easily fought for, and I don't even think it's done now. Yeah. It's just like life for me outside of music, outside of art. This is just like, I'm going to keep growing. Who I am today is not who I'm going to be in 5 years. Who I am today is not who I was 5 years ago. Yeah.
I think especially if you want that, like if you want to see that growth, like yeah. I'm glad that I'm not like 18-year-old me anymore, you know? This is like a different dude, you know? There's definitely like some pieces that are like still reflective of that, like somewhere, but I don't know. I think it's like so much unlearning that you have to do too, of like the things that you, and I'm that has to be like a part of your experience, especially like maybe exploring outside of religion and stuff, is like a lot of unlearning of these things that you thought were the right thing, and just like hopefully revealing to yourself through that loss of like what is important, like who am I at the core of these things, like what still exists.
I think that's a really good point. I think not just unlearning, but opening yourself up to be taught. Yeah. Because I think there's in a lot of spaces that are a bit rigid, they demand certainty. And I was taught to be very certain. There is a right, there is a wrong. Things are black and white in a lot of spaces. And I think there's so much more color in the world. I think it took, honestly, a lot of my unlearning and relearning and regrowth came from me stepping out of a really rigid space and into the art scene in Portland and seeing how much love and life and inclusion there was in spaces that I was told that there was so much darkness and death and wrong. And I found so much acceptance in this space, and it undid me. It completely undid me. And I thought I'm a very, like, I care a lot about people. I really, really do. I don't just pride myself in it. Like, I fight for it. I really have such a heart for humans. And I thought I loved people well before. And I didn't know how much more I could love people. Yeah. In a different way, and how much I could learn from other people loving me differently, and how much more I needed to learn in the future. Yeah. And I think a lot of religious spaces have a lot to learn. and how we can love each other better. We're wasting so much time about making sure that people know who's in and who's out and what's wrong and what's right. And we're missing out on the 101s of loving people well. And that's supposed to be the whole thing. It's supposed to be the whole thing. So yeah, there was a lot of unlearning, and it took art and humans to pull me out of it and to really learn to find myself in a completely different way.
Yeah. I think I've had like a very, like a somewhat similar experience of like my upbringing in the suburbs of California, where I don't know, like I was still like exposed to art. And I think I was like I really wanted more of that. And that's like why I came to a city like Portland for sure. But I do think it's so much about like being exposed to different people and different like backgrounds and different like orientations, like whatever that might be. Like once you connect with people outside of like your experience or like your orientation or like race or whatever, you start to like really care about people on a different level that maybe be like experiencing hardship in places, like maybe things that people, you know, experience outside of being like the white cis male experience, you know, or just like what you're fighting for maybe changes. And then you do see like that there is a lot of exclusion in those spaces where people are trying to like tell you what is right and wrong. And it's like, well, if it comes down to God is love, this is definitely not love by you making all of this judgment that we're not supposed to like have in that space is very prevalent, unfortunately, it seems like.
And I even want to be like careful with it, because it's like I was raised to be rigid, and I was raised to like love a certain way and include a certain people. And now that it's like I would like to say I'm expanding how I love people, right?
Yeah.
Versus like a full turn and betrayal of the past, because that stuff makes me me. And
Absolutely.
I still love so many people in these spaces. And I think in a season where like we as a nation are going to be really partisan and divided, if I'm really fighting for love, I have to figure out a way to like stand in knowing who I am and still find a way to fight for the dignity of the people that are harder to love.
Yes.
While also, you know, like it's as an artist, it's a welcome challenge, because I'm a creative. How can I find a creative way of still, almost like at a Thanksgiving dinner, you know, the awkward uncle. You're like going, he says things that are out of line. How is he still my family member? He's still welcome at the Thanksgiving table. How can I still like maintain this relationship with boundaries, but also still love?
Yeah.
So what does love look like now? And I don't want to close a door to love. So like I have no idea how to do it. Like I remember like the last election season, I was like torn between two worlds. I had a job in Vancouver, but I was living in Portland, and I was seeing protests on one side, and then I was seeing protests on the other side, and both were spewing such hate towards the other. And I'm like going, I actually don't know what to do in this situation, because I'm hearing the same words said about the other people, and that can't be right, because now both of you are saying really hateful things. So now I actually don't know what to do. It just changed the way that I want to fight for love. And it's so cheesy to say, but like that's just what I want. Like, how can I creatively find a way to always fight for the dignity in the people around me? Yeah,
absolutely. I think it's just like trying to maintain some perspective too, that like if you were those people, or like that you maybe like don't necessarily feel like you share the same values or like agree with, like if you had their life experience, then you would be where they're at probably. And it's like trying to remember that sometimes in those spaces is like too.
I think that's the best part of the perspective of like going, I was the people. I was that. So like I have to love the me that existed before.
Yeah.
And I have to love the them that they are now. And they may always be this, and I may change. Like, I don't know. Like, how can we love in real time without compromise.
Yeah. I don't love all my takes from 5 years ago or 10 years ago, or maybe even some of them from 2 years ago, you know?
Yeah.
Do you feel like the music is always, like writing and performing is always a place where it really helps you process those things in a healthy way that like makes it easier for you to just cope with everything that you're experiencing?
I would say now it is. I think before I had a hard time being honest with processing in public about that stuff. I would process maybe in private. I'd write a song or I'd journal and I'd process in that way, but it was very private. It was just for myself. Now essentially I'm just like opening up what's actually in my heart in a different way.
Yeah.
And playing it makes it so it's rewarding, I would say, but I think music is the thing that like helps carry the message for me. 'Cause I've always been able to process with music. You know, it's like whether it be like dancing at a show or singing background at someone else's show or just like singing along with the radio. It's always been like an outlet. And so to be able to allow that to happen on stage in front of people, like in a sincere form, versus I feel like I used to perform like in an obligatory way. I'm like going, you like this, you say you like this, I'm going to do my best to do what you like. And now I'm like going, I like this. I'm having so much fun. I'm like rocking out while I'm playing. Yeah. And this is what I'm feeling today. Yeah. It's a fun journey. I would say I have like new songs that are like about like old relationships. Those don't, like, that's a whole other thing where it's like, you don't obviously feel those things, but like the emotion of like kind of embodying it for a moment to convey the message. It's fun. I'm having so much fun doing it, which is newer than it should be. Newer than it should be on a consistent level.
I think you can feel that in the, like, especially in the last year, the full band performances. Like, it just looks like you're having the most fun out of anybody in the room.
Oh.
Yeah. And also just, I just always admire your presence on stage. Always makes me feel like you're in control of the situation. Even when things are falling apart. Yeah. And like, or maybe like, I know like there's been a show where someone couldn't play last minute or something and somebody else had to step in or something. Mm-hmm. It just always feels like you're handling it well. Even if it doesn't feel that way to you.
I'm like going, we're going to get through. It's going to be all right.
Yeah.
I can't change the bad that's happening right now.
Yes.
But I'll do my best. But that might not be enough, but I still will try.
Was there a different approach in making this record than you've ever like gone at things as far as like actually recording a record or like a batch of tunes that you feel like was significant to like what you got out of this album?
I think it's not overthought. We kind of just went with our gut with a lot of stuff. And I've done it before on stuff where it's just you kind of go with your gut with parts. I also am bringing in a lot of personal preparation. And with that personal preparation, I'm Preparation Age. That's your new sponsor. You're welcome.
Links in the episode notes.
Like, I'm actually producing on a whole different level. So I'm coming in with very solid structures of songs, which I didn't have before. And that's a learned thing. So like for the full length that I did years ago in New York, I had a lot of ideas, a couple different versions, but some of the songs were like 10 years old and I just had whatever latest version. These ones, they're fresh and I'm coming up with like electric lines that I've never come up with before, vocal lines, tons of harmonies, like a whole like scope of a song where I'm like doing this big dynamic sweep. I'm just composing on a completely different level. and I'm bringing in the framework of a composition to a team of trusted musicians and going like, these are parts that I hear you playing, but what else do you hear? Like, how else can we approach this framework? And there's a lot of there's a safety net within that framework. I was going, we can't fail. We have a complete song. We can kind of try anything. And so we just were able to have a lot of fun within that space. And also just like the time that I have known a lot of these musicians, I was able to trust it. And I was able to like Eric played drums on the record. And I did a live take recording with him a couple years prior for someone else's record. And I was like going, that was the only time that we had ever played together. But like, I knew he could nail it because I was watching him come up with parts on the fly. So I got to, I don't know, I was able to like rest on knowing that I really, really trusted these musicians and I knew them before. And so there was like a rest going into it. Like there wasn't much stress.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I trust you and I don't know what part you're going to come up with, but I know you and I know it's going to be great. And I know it's going to be something I would never be able to come up with in my life. But I'm really stoked to see what we create together. So I would say that's new.
Was it clear to you that all of these songs in particular belonged together?
I wrote too many songs. And I didn't know which ones were going to all fit. And so initially I could only afford to record 7 of them. And those ones felt the most cohesive. And when we got to the end of recording it, I was like, these other songs, we just couldn't get over it. And so like I've been working my butt off for the last year to be able to pay off the remaining 3 to make it a full length.
Yeah.
Because those belonged just as much. And we fought for those songs. Like we earned them. I think I didn't know quite which ones, because sometimes it's like thematically some songs pair better together, or if you like write a melody line, you're like, I can imagine that these would go, but I think it's like it's not until it's like you record them and see what happens at the end of it, like what the song becomes. And I like the excitement of that. And I don't think I would have chosen all of these songs. I didn't initially, and then we kind of like couldn't get over the stuff that we did in pre-production. That we're like, we have to do this. We got to do it. They fit. They're part of the family. We can't not have them. And that's Ghost of It's one of them.
Yeah.
Left Without a Trace is another one. And The End Is Near, which is going to be our title track. Yeah. Kind of. First song of the album.
It's the opening track on the record. It's that might be my favorite track on the album. I feel like you did such a great, I don't know if this was like another thing that was really clear to you that would be the opening track, but it feels so much like it has to be the opening song on a record. Like it stands out to me as like, you know, side 1, track 1. Like this is like one of those like big opening tracks that like throws you into a record and like makes you want to, I don't know. It would be hard for me to like listen to that song and then not want to listen to the rest of the thing. Yeah. You know, like I have to know what comes after it. Was there something that in particular that spoke to you about wanting to open in the record with that one?
When I originally wrote that song, it wasn't going to go as hard. It was going to be kind of a different, almost like Ghost of It, where it's kind of muted guitar tones.
Yeah.
And so I thought maybe like Save My Soul might be the first one, because it's a bop and it goes harder. And once we, like the moment that I did a demo for it, like at my house, going like, all right, I've decided I'm going to record it. What if I like kind of went like do you remember like Old Good Charlotte? This is a literal like 1-to-1 reference for me. I was like going like their first album. I was like, I wanted to go like Old Good Charlotte. Old like late 90s, early 2000s. Like I wanted to be pop punk. I wanted to have like a vibe. And I was like, what if I turned this kind of mellow song into like a pop punk song? And the moment we tried it and I tried different chording or chord formations, same progression, same everything, just different formations, it was like so clear. I was like going, if this tracks well, this song is it. It doesn't sound like the rest of the record. So I feel like I did betray everybody a little bit, but there's enough continuity with like 80s and 90s references throughout. But not every song is like that.
No, but it by no means like doesn't feel like it belongs. Like it feels like it's in context with the rest of the stuff. I don't think it's like misleading to what is going to happen. Like it's definitely that ear candy though, of just like some of those guitar lines that like you can just gets stuck in your head. Like when I'm like thinking about like other records that open with these like kind of iconic like opening tracks, it's like it makes me feel like the opening to like a Third Eye Blind record.
Oh, that's fun.
Or something, you know, like
that's how I want to go down in history. The new Third Eye Blind.
It like really like welcomes you, I think, into the listening experience in that way. Yeah. So yeah, I love that song so much. Like it's
Yay.
Again, like it's just like one of those things where I'm just like, yep, I'm gonna want to listen to the whole thing. There's no turning this off now. You know, it's on and it will play through.
Yeah. And I tried to stock it in a way, like song order, that it was going to be clear that this was going to be a journey with like sonic continuity lines, but it was not going to be the same thing all the way through. And I really respect the artists that are able to make like soundscapes that like song to song, it just feels like a vibe. Yeah. This feels like a bunch of songs with continuity, but it is not all the same feeling. And that's me. It's more me. I know it doesn't market as well, but like I wanted a much more diverse journey of sound. And so I made it clear with the song order that it was going to be like that. I don't know how much it matters. I don't know.
I think you're able to do it in a way where it still feels like it flows to me, or like, again, like I feel like it belongs. It all feels like it belongs together. It doesn't feel like you threw together like this greatest hits record or something, you know? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. It's not greatest hits.
There's some hits. There are some great hits.
Hopefully.
I think there's some great hits.
Here's to hoping.
Did you spend a lot of time then with the sequencing and like figuring out like the puzzle of it all?
I do that in general. I used to be like obsessed with making mixtapes and CDs. Yeah. For so many years of my life. Some of them still exist, and all of them like too much time was spent on the sequencing of those songs, and none of the songs are quite the same. So I guess I feel like I made myself a mix CD. Yeah. Where it's like I'm like all of them are a little different, a little weird. There's some weird moments, some surprising moments, but that like there is a flow. There is order to it, but none of them are quite the same, and that is totally me.
Is it the same in creating a set list for you for a live show?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll change it up per like the vibe of the artist that's playing on the same bill as us, the location, time of night. We just did a show at my old series, like concert series, Songs by the River. Yeah. And we pulled out oldies that we haven't played in a minute because it would totally fit the bill. We had like a bluegrass band on the same bill as us. And so I brought out more singer-songwriter-y things, much more harms, took out some of the more like rocky stuff. And I care about everybody's experience, because I'm like, I'm sharing something vulnerable. That's great. You guys have chosen to be here, honored, like truly honored. I also want to honor the people who are also on the bill and honor the people in the audience. Like, how can I create an experience that we can all share together? And not all spaces are like that. Like, I can play at a venue and it's like, I don't know who's in the room. It's all dark anyways. Do your best. But for some spaces that I really feel like can be curated, I love it. I love being able to like create moments that we can all share together and have memories together. And then I'm like getting people to sing. I'm telling stories. I think it's important. I was like, if I'm already like bashful about performing anyways, how do I like get you involved
Yeah.
in this in some way?
It all feels like pretty intentional though. Like
Yeah.
a lot of thought.
Too much thought. A little too much thought.
Yeah.
Hopefully not overthought.
Do you feel like you
their
have
knowledge.
ways to get out of your own way when you are overthinking? Like, have you found any?
Pulling the trigger. I just have to do it. Like, I just have to do it. I remember like on the last record, I spent so much time in January of 2020 listening to the songs over and over again. I remember it's like, I just got to get into my feels, and I'm going to spend a couple hours just like feeling one song to the next. And I remember I had like Eagle Rare. I'm like sipping this bourbon, like trying to feel. I'm like, oh, that doesn't feel right, and like getting way too into it. And I do feel like there's a good arc to that record, probably because of too much Eagle Rare. But it was sincere. I did feel
too
it.
Much.
But like, I think like I just have to make a call. Oh my gosh, if you were in my home this past week, you would be privy to conversations of me losing it a little bit, going like, I just don't know if this should have been the second song. I just feel I'm making the wrong call and it's already off to press, and they're gonna be disappointed. And I should have done 2 upbeat songs next to each other. Instead I went like this and I went like that, and I thought it was right in the moment. But it's pulling the trigger, because then you can't go back.
Yeah.
And I was like, my instinct isn't bad. I think I just get too overthought about stuff.
Yeah. How much you've had so much time to work like in venues and do the production managing and stage managing in different spaces. Do you feel like that's informed the way you operate as a musician a lot, having that experience being on that side of things and not just always being the performer?
I absolutely, in some negative ways, and in a sense of like, I think I'm a little too conscious of our impact upon a venue.
Just like numbers wise and things like that.
That and more of like the impact on the staff.
Yeah.
I was like going, I am like, it changes the way that I want to honor their time.
You want to be easy.
That's a
to
positive.
deal
I wouldn't
with.
say that's a negative. But I'm too conscious of it. And sometimes it takes away from being present for the art of it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like spinning, I'm like band momming it up with my band.
Yes.
And I am like trying to be a good host while also being hosted to a venue space.
Yeah, you have to like be able to allow yourself to like be like, oh, I am allowed to take up space.
Yeah.
Because I am the guest here. You know, I'm not working. I don't need to worry about how extra I'm being if I want to be a little bit extra.
Don't think
today.
it's gonna be a problem that I'm extra. If anything, I'm taking up space with too many flowers that I didn't ask permission to put on the stage. But there's forgiveness there, I think. I hope. It's maybe fire hazard, but don't tell the other people. But yeah, it's definitely impacted the way that I like handle advances, because I know exactly what they need, because I'm the one that's doing the advancing for shows. It changes the way that I want to make sure I remember people's names, look them in the eye, thank them at the end of the night, and really mean it. It makes me value when a space is run really well, and I pull people aside and I make sure that they hear it.
Yeah.
I'm like going, I know you're doing 1,000 things. Like when we played Belltown Bloom this year, we played at the Crocodile, and there's several stages in that space, and the person that was managing, there's 2 floors, our floor, so a couple different spaces on a singular floor, did an excellent job, was just nailing it.
Yeah.
And I was able to like get out of like my artist moment and be like, hey, I know I just played, you're freaking killing it. Like you're handling so many different bands and so many spinning plates, and you need to know that you're doing such a great job. I think artists unknowingly take for granted the work that's being done behind the scenes in a venue space, from advancing to venue management to security to the cleanup at the end of the night. You just don't know. You show up to a space, you're hosted, and you leave.
Yeah.
And I want to honor their time and who they are just as much as I want to honor my band, as much as I want to honor the patrons and the guests who are there to enjoy the show. It's just more people to love. Like I'm the person that has experienced working in those spaces, and I know the work and care that I put into it, and I want to make sure that everybody's having a good time. I want to make sure. I played a show at Mississippi a couple months ago, and I was just the opener, and because I had worked there, I knew every single person who was working that night. And I was like going, and I want to thank this person on sound. And I like, make sure you tip Summer who's working at the bar. She gave me this tattoo. Tell her hello. She's hiring right now. And then make sure you say hi to Phoebe in the back. Like I'm like name dropping. I was like going, thank them. Yeah. We played many years ago. I played a show at the Doug Fir, and we were 6 tickets away from sellout. We were like at capacity, which is a great feeling.
Yes. And
I had a friend go back, and that's how I found out how we did with numbers, because it's like they gave me a number, but it didn't mean anything to me. I was very young in the music world. But one of the first things that the staff said to my friend who told me about the numbers were like, great sales, 6 away from sellout, but nobody tipped at the bar. It was really embarrassing. And I was mortified that my friends went to the show and were terrible patrons.
Oh man.
And so I'm like going, and now I didn't even work in the venue side of things yet. And so it's like, I didn't know how much I needed to value the people who were hosting me as much as I did. It matters just as much as the music, I think, because we're all in it together.
Yeah, for sure. Well, similarly to feeling like the crowd is in good hands when you're performing, I always know that things are in good hands when you are like stage managing or production managing in spaces. Like,
so
my personal experience is yes.
All right, fair.
Very good.
You haven't played for me yet. I'm waiting for you and your band to make an appearance.
There will be none of that. You'll just see me maybe on stage hosting something, you know?
Which I've done. I have done
that.
Yes,
we got to do that like, I don't know. It feels like a few weeks ago, but
it just happened. That was a few weeks ago.
Yeah, strange. It feels like it was forever ago, but and it feels like it was last week. I don't really know how
I don't know time
works.
Anymore.
Yeah, no. It's all very messy. I do know that your record is either out now when this comes out or is about to be out, and I will put all the links in the episode notes so people can keep up with you. And I'm like, just incredibly stoked for you and proud of the songs that you are putting out into the world. Like, it's very rad. You made a killer record, so
you did it.
Congratulations.
Yay.
You did the thing. You decided what the order was going to be. You sent it off to press. Whether you have different feelings about that later, it doesn't matter because you've already done the thing and made those decisions. And thank you for making time for me and talking to me about where you're at with shit. You know, it's a lot of things.
It's a lot of things. Thanks for letting me come into your space with my chaos.
It's
cool stuff though. I feel like I made a cool throne.
I just wouldn't expect anything else. Like, I knew that you were coming, even though we didn't really talk about it, I knew that you were coming through the door with items in hand. I knew that it wasn't just going to be you. It was going to be at least some arrangement of flowers. I didn't know Karen would be joining us.
Karen's a fun special.
I hope the sound is good for you, Karen.
She can't even speak about it. Like, she's just speechless.
She's just so happy to be here that she's speechless.
Karen will be at the release show.
Karen will be at the release show, maybe at the merch table.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I think that's probably the place to be.
I think Karen should be your TM.
I'm going to put a QR code right on Karen's chest.
Tip Karen.
Yeah.
Tip Karen's tatas.
Yeah. Tip Karen's tits.
I want to play an episode out with Ghost a bit.
Okay.
We talked about that one a bit in the conversation. Hannah, I need you to properly end this thing. I need you to say the tagline for the show, which is "It's a program."
Do I have to say it like a program?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the way my grandfather says it.
That's really
so we
cute.
have to
Where's
do
he
it.
from?
He's just from California. It's not.
What
it doesn't seem
happened?
to be regional. It's
All
just
right.
like generational, and I guess I don't know. whatever program you're in, he's going to call it a program. He thinks that he's saying program though, which is great. That. Like I'll be like, Grandpa, say program, and he'll be like, program.
It's like pilgrim.
Yeah.
But program.
Program. Turn the news program on.
I like that.
What's your school program? Tell me about the song program that you have provided for this evening.
What's his name?
His name is Andrew.
I love that for Andrew.
Andrew. Dr. Smith.
Old Smitty.
Old Smitty. It's the one time I'll ask you to look into this camera here.
Say it's a program?
Yep,
program?
Program. However you'd like to deliver it. The Hannah Glavor, it's a program.
Which camera?
The only one that's there. We only have one.
That would make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, you go ahead and you look into that camera and you let them know.
Okay. Now?
Yeah.
Do I have to say into the mic too?
I mean, I think
Adjacent?
the mic is close enough to you that you can just do it however is comfortable.
Okay. Well, it's a program.
She nailed it, everybody. It's Hannah Glavor. All the links for Hannah will be in the episode notes. You can make sure you check out the Hold Tight record. Beautiful collection of tunes. There's vinyls coming eventually. You can get one of those. There's the previous record. That's also an amazing collection of tunes. You should check out that if you're new to Hannah's music. And go see a live show. September 26th is the official album release show at Polaris. Mm-hmm. And I will definitely make note of that in the intro as well. So you've probably already heard me tell you, if you've made it this far along, go see Hannah play live. Great band and amazing songs. And that is the Jelly Jams. And we'll catch you on the flip side, Portland or wherever you are listening from. All right, let's get you out of your throne.
Yeah.
We did it.
We did it. Turned out great.
Stand on the edge of the coast of it. I'll make the most of it. All weekend and hand, and you boasted it. Left me a ghost in it. Buried it deep just to grow a bit. Hard to let go of it. Oh, we're brushing